Welcome to Legacy Engineered, the show where smart structure meets lasting success. Join Scott Arden, Chairman and CEO of Controllers Limited, as he sits down with business leaders, top entrepreneurs, and experts to uncover the strategies, stories, and structures that build lasting legacies. And now, here's your host, Scott Arden.
Hello and welcome to the Legacy Engineered podcast. I'm your host, Scott Arden, and today I want to introduce you to a great friend of mine, a colleague, a mentor, Jason Sisneros. Jason's known as the architect. He's a business strategist, investor, speaker with 26 exits. 26. I didn't realize it was that many, man.
How do you of all people not know how many exits? You know all my stuff. You have everything.
And he supports over 165 plus companies. He's the chairman of Built to Exit, which helps entrepreneurs escape burnout by building scalable, sellable businesses. His mission is to empower founders to achieve freedom, purpose, profit, and legacy. Jason, welcome to Legacy Engineered. Always great to see you, brother.
It's great to be here, brother. Congratulations on your show. It's been a long time coming. When people are watching your show and they're like, okay, well, here's another podcast. Every time I've ever been on the phone with you, and I'll tell everybody from the outset, this man controls and handles my wife and I's estate. We trust him implicitly. He knows everything. So it's a little weird, but he knows everything that's going on. And also with our business, we suggest and refer people to Scott because we trust him with our own lives, and we trust Scott and his entire team, who are amazing, to everybody that we do business with. And I'm really, really happy that you're putting this out, because the information that you have and the relationships that you have with people that can help the business owners that are watching this and people that are looking to protect their estate, this is going to be a great show for them. So congratulations, and I'm happy to be and honored to be a guest on your show.
Thanks, brother. Thank you. Well, I know that you and I, over the last, 15 years, we've worked with many, many business owners to really do a deep dive into their businesses, into their estates, to ensure that, first off, they're protected. Secondly, to ensure that they have a business that is optimized for either scalability or sellability down the road. And so, today we want to talk a little bit about that. And I wanted to go down the path, because as you and I've had conversations, I know your why and why you really do this. But why don't you kind of tell our listeners why, or what is the driving force between you choosing this path, your why, so to speak?
Yeah, it's a great question for everybody watching, because I'll tell my story, but it's really relevant, on podcasts and shows, is to remember that you're watching this for you. And so the stories are going to be great, but you always got to see yourself in them. And what I've noticed is my journey, it's different, but a lot of us that are in business, we come from some kind of trauma in our background, right? There's something that goes, I am unemployable, really is kind of our flag, right? We put it up as entrepreneurship because it's more acceptable, but really it is, we're rebels. We are unemployable, and we want to control destiny, like live or die. We're going to do it on our own efforts. It's not going to be somebody else telling me, hey, you're worth this much an hour. Or it's not going to be me on my knees begging a corrupt government for them to pay me, right? It's my destiny is in my own hands. So that's who we are. And, and my why, I think for everybody, it expands. The first why is for us to get personally free as, for us and our family. It's to make sure that we've got the home that's taken care of, enough revenue that can take care of us, to take care of our spouse if something happens to us, to get our kids through college, to do like our first why. Our tagline, as you know, is everybody exits, how matters, right? If you start out with that premise and you go, I'm going to exit, all of us are going to end up in a pine box sometime. I know it's morbid, right? Yep. But if you understand that, then you reverse engineer and go, yep, my business, somebody else is going to own my business. So I should be preparing that for that occurrence. And for myself in my journey, I learned the hard way. I think a lot of us do. I went bankrupt in my first 2 or 3 companies. I came out of a really horrible family. My adopted father went to prison for attempted murder of me and my mom when I was 17. Lots of other things. I went down that bad path for a while because I did what I knew. And then I had some amazing mentors, which is kind of your show, right? It's a mentorship for people. Had some amazing mentors step into my life and say, "Hey, Jason, you need to turn your life around." And I did. And the only outlet that I had at my disposal, other than being an employee at low paid, no background, or begging the government, was for me to start my own business. And I did that. And I crashed 3 back to back. And then I learned some lessons. I went on the road with Tony Robbins, and I was able to free my family financially. That's what the business is. Like when people are looking at it, it's like, oh, I've got a business. No, you really have a tool for you to be able to free yourself when you get that concept in your mind. And it's not some fortune cookie freedom where you hear a lot of gurus talking about it. It is genuine freedom of knowing that you don't have to do anything ever again for the rest of your life, right? So that was the first exit for me, was to be able to do that for me, my family, my children, my grandchildren. Then it became about domestic violence. And because I was raised in that environment and I started to give back there, I got pulled in as the CEO. What's that?
Doing amazing things with that. That's awesome, man.
Yeah, that was my that's where I was like something that was real close to my heart. Right. And then a lot of domestic violence happens because of food insecurity. So I got pulled into Tony Robbins and Ambush Jane's Feed a Billion as the CEO to help them build that out. And then on the other side of that, I started doing rescues and trafficking. And, literally we go in, we kick down doors, we go get kids, we put bad guys away, and it's in a charity. So I say that to say that I know every business owner that I've ever met, and it's been thousands and thousands and thousands of business, there's a desire for them to do more for society with their excess. It's like we have this concept amongst us called enough. I've got enough, but I don't want to stop working. I don't want to stop challenging myself. I don't want to stop taking myself to the next level. I don't want to stop learning and growing, because if we do, we head towards death. So how do you do that? Well, you do that by making more excess so that you can solve and ease suffering for other people. And then the last piece of it, which I'll wrap up with, is the vision as the capacity and the relationships and the capital and all of that stuff continues to grow, then so must your vision. And my vision now is for all of us, we're 17 billion, all small and mid-sized enterprises. There's 33 million of us in the country. We do $17 trillion of the GDP, 60% of the hiring, and we're responsible for 90% of the jobs.
Right.
And yet we're unrepresented. We have no one that could stand up and say, back in 2020, when they called us non-essential, hey, we're not non-essential. We are the essential. This is who this is who you should be resourcing, not people that you're going to give money to you're going to make more money because of stocks, not your crony friends, business owners, right? That's who should do it. So we're building out what's called the Owners Syndicate. As you know, you were one of the very first people that I told about this concept, to be able to protect our people. And, we Built to Exit is a piece of that engine.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, it's kind of the same things, right? It's, the reason why I do what I do is, I've built a legacy for my son and my granddaughter, and it's my passion to teach other people how to do the exact same thing. Yep. Right. That's why we do this. It's seeing that wow factor of, I didn't even realize that I could do that. Right. And kind of focusing where people should be looking at their life, their business, their family, all of that.
Yeah. And you do such a good job. I mean, again, you said it best. We've known each other 15 years. Yep. And a lot of people are good at what they do in their business. They're good. They're great roofers. They're great drywallers. They're great HVAC people. They're great at what they do. And there's this whole other ring, that you defined a long time ago as the moat. As you're building that up, you start to realize, oh my gosh, I'm a business owner. Everybody's got their hand in my pocket, because we're amongst the few producers. Like when you go into Econ 101, right? There's production happening, and it happens at the level of a small and mid-sized business owner. And so government's got their hand in there to, you know, attorneys, no, I know there's good ones out there, but attorneys and taxes and all and employees and all of this, everybody's waiting for their piece to come out of the originating founder's idea and risk, right? And so the idea is that you have solidified in my brain. You helped me do it for myself, and then for me and my wife, and for the people that are closest to me, and all of our business owners that are smart enough to listen, is to say, okay, now that you have that and it's building up, you're not just going to build a moat, right, around what you have now. It's accelerating in value over time, which means that you're going to be a bigger and bigger target for more and more people to want to get what you've built and grown for yourself. And so what you do and what you've taught me and a lot of other people is you got to get that moat solidified. It's like, start your business, get it cash flowing, right? And at the beginning, protect it as much as you can, but as it grows, make sure that you're increasing that moat and your defense, because everybody's after it. Everybody.
Absolutely. Yep, absolutely. I mean, we compare it to building a fortress, right? You know, if you build the fortress on sand, eventually it's going to crumble, right? But if you reinforce the foundation, put the moat around it, build the walls to ensure that the empire, if you will, is protected from outside sources, you know, whether it's litigation, whether it's, contract disputes, things like that. I mean, these are the things that we have to think about consistently in our business. It's not just, throw everything into one company and we're just going to hope for the best, right?
Yeah. Well, that's almost every business owner out there, and they should be going, oh, I need to talk to Scott.
Right. I agree. I agree.
Yep.
And everybody, once we get to the certain level, of when they want to sell their business, that's when I bring them to you and say, hey, these people, they want to get their exit in place. What does that look like? Let's work with them and take that deep dive like we've done. Right.
Yep. 100%. And it works really, really well because we care. There's a lot, there's a lot of people that do consulting. There's a lot of people that do what you do and what I do, but you have to care. Number one, you have to find somebody who cares about the actual outcome. Right. And you do. And that's why we've worked so well together. I feel like I am the guardian, I'm Batman for our people. And eventually we become Alfred, become Alfred and become their guide as they become their own superhero in life. And, and there's a lot of work right there. If you think about like climbing to Everest, which I've thought about 3 times now. So I've done a lot of research and eventually I'm going to go do it. But there's that climb when you decide, okay, I want to start a business from Nepal. If you're going from that side, Nepal to base camp, it's 17,000-ish feet.
Right.
That's not a nothing climb. It's actually the biggest climb on the way to the top of Everest, because from there to Camp 1 is like 2,500 feet. It starts to get harder because the air is more rare, right? And so, you got to protect yourself. But once you get to that base camp, now there's, and I found this odd, or I found it very cool when I discovered that the same amount of chunks that we have to help somebody plant their flag on the top of their own personal Mount Everest is the same camps that they have on the actual climb, right? You don't have the same guides that get you from base camp to Camp 1. You have to have different guides. You have to have different resources. You have to have different skill sets. You have to have all of those. And so every step of the way, there's things that you have to do to continue to protect your fortress, and different skill sets and people that you need on your journey to be able to actually help you go plant your flag.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yep. 100% agree with that. I mean, we see it all the time, right? I've heard this, I've heard that, this is what I need to do, or I read it out there on the bathroom wall, the internet, right? Everybody can write something, but is it verified, right? So we've seen a lot of that. Absolutely.
Well, unfortunately, you run into, we as business owners, you and me included in about what I'm about to say. This is no judgment, is that we are some of the most hard-headed people on the face of the planet. Right. And so and rightfully so, because the entire world depends on us. Our, like your family, my family, our spouses, the community, the charities, the kids, everything, the tax base, like it all depends on us. So we have to build up this certain level of, I know what I'm doing and I got this, right? But it also can tip over into arrogance, which causes ignorance and leaves you wide open for all of the hard work that you're doing. It leaves open a door for the impending hordes to get through, right? And so it's an interesting journey to be humble enough to listen or look for the right advice. That's a very unique quality, but also be hard enough to go, I'm going to do my due diligence before I go through that door. I'm not going to just fall for the marketing funnels. You know, they're getting really good. You know, these fake ass gurus and people that everybody knows that, we know everything about everything. And
and they were a life coach, 2 years ago. Now they're an expert sales or marketing coach or, strategist, whatever it is. Yeah.
And God bless them on their journey, but do not, a person's business is it's a sacred agreement. When you decide, and you know this, and this is how we feel, right? It's a sacred agreement. It's somebody coming to us and saying, you know what? I've humbled myself. I know that I got to go ask a question. And now they open that door for us to say, please don't come in and kill my family and steal our stuff, or, and a lot of people go through those doors with a lot of confidence, but not as much competence. Right. And that can hurt a business owner. This is what their entire family, and sometimes hundreds and hundreds of jobs, people that work there, depend on that entity staying strong. Mm-hmm. And so I wish and I hope that anybody that has a heart to help business owners, for the business owner, I hope they succeed and get that experience, but don't do it on the business owner's dime. Don't do it on their time. Go in knowing that you can solidify their outer wall a little bit, that you can help build that next level to their kingdom, but don't go in. And that's what I hope for most of these people, if they have a true heart. But there's a lot of people that are out there that just go, we have the most dispensable income out of anybody, and they're just trying to get it out of their pocket as fast as they can.
Right.
So got to take care of people.
Absolutely. That's really our passion, right? We fall in love with the outcome, right? What exactly is it that you're looking to do? Are you looking to build a lifestyle business? Are you looking to create generational wealth? What does that look like to you, the individual? And then from there, with us understanding that, we can then help them kind of reverse engineer, as you said earlier, reverse engineer the sequence in which they should be securing that fortress. Right.
100%. Yeah. Not from your cousin Vinny, by the way. Right. Not from your cousin Vinny. I've got a cousin Vinny. Everybody's got a cousin Vinny in their life that they're like, oh, I could help you, solidify your estate and blah, blah, blah. No, you go talk to Scott, who's done this for his entire life, and he's the best at it in the business. And you listen to him. You say, here's what I want. He builds it for you. Don't argue. Don't say my attorney this or my CPA. If they knew, they would have built what Scott built for you. Right?
I say that all the time. I'm like, if they were giving you the right advice, you would be in a completely different position than you are now.
100%. Right? Yeah. There would be no need for a Scott or a Jason, right? You're coming to people who know what they're doing. They have a history of it. It's documented in referrals and recommendations and all that other kind of stuff. You and I primarily built our business that way.
Absolutely.
Because I think both of us suck at marketing. I think we both suck at it.
That's why I've got a team. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
What was funny is I actually ran into a client from, I think, what was the date? My signature and my information was in their corporate documents, and I think it was back to 2001 or 2002. And he's like, I knew I knew you from somewhere. But again, I'm like, I want to see those documents. And you see your name, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, well, cool. Well, here we are again. Let's dive in, see where you're at from there to now and where we want to go with all this.
Love
So,
that. Yeah, it's longevity. I've been doing this a hell of a long time, right? And so have you. And longevity matters in the world of I'm just going to chat GPT it, you know?
well, and that's becoming more prevalent, right?
It is.
I mean,
Yeah.
obviously there has to be some user interface, but more people are relying on AI versus, knowledge base of what they have, what they can, get out there.
Yeah, it's a balance. I see a really nice fit. You know, part of our platform for the owner syndicate is to have protections in place for small and mid-sized business owners that don't have the dollars to to have lobbyists and all that other kind of stuff. But I see a really good future for business owners working with AI that know what they're doing but you can't trust AI to get your most important things correct, right? Because there's one thing about knowing here's the checklist of things that you have to do, but AI doesn't quite know how to customize that to each and everybody's individual personality or exact situation or what's going on in their business or how much money's coming off of this or that or their holdings and all that. You have to have people that know what they're doing, but AI can assist in making sure that all of those documents and all that kind of stuff are prepared correctly once you have the great strategist conversation and you determine what your outcome is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's critical. The paperwork is especially when you're talking about scaling a business, right? Or selling a business.
Yeah.
Is making sure that all that appropriate paperwork is in place. I mean, that's what controller's primary focus is ensuring the compliance documents are up to speed in all of these companies. You can have the best asset protection structure in the world, but if you do not have the documentation, eventually that's that building the fortress on sand, right? It's gonna crumble. And it's not when or strike that if you're going to encounter a liability issue, it's when you're going to encounter a liability issue, whether it's a lawsuit, an audit, what have you, just to ensure that everything is structured correctly. But beyond that, when we're talking about scaling or selling a business, one of the biggest things that most buyers or investors are going to want to look at are the corporate documents to see what that longevity is of the company. What kind of transactions have happened in the company so that we know what we're stepping into. There's not really any skeletons in the closet that we've got to worry about, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, I just was yesterday driving to a business dinner, down in Savannah, Georgia, and we're having this conversation, and it's so interesting. Somebody had in the beginning of their deal, they had the word affiliate struck in one of their contracts. And it came back at the end. Now they're having this big, and you've got, contracts this thick. And now you're talking about the last 6 months and probably $700,000 or $800,000 so far has been spent in legal fees because they allowed that one word called affiliate to be struck out of the contract. You see what I'm saying? Like it's so necessary for you to be doing business with people who understand the entire complexity of it and then go through each and every detail to make sure that doesn't come back and bite you in 10 years from now.
Right. Absolutely. Well, I know that you kind of alluded to it early on where, you had the 3 different businesses that kind of went down. Obviously, those are some of those, every journey has its ups and downs. What were some of the early on roadblocks that you hit, or are there any ongoing ones that continue to shape your path?
Yeah. I am where I am and that better than most people, but I am where I am in large part due to those 3 bankruptcies. Like, right. And here's why. I think a lot of people, they view, I certainly did because I didn't have any great mentorship. I looked at failure as the thing that I wanted to deathly avoid. I wanted to stay away from failure. And it turns out that failure, if you can not avoid it, because the thing that you try to avoid in a failure, that means that you're going to not fire quickly, right? That means that you're not going to make the decision to get your trust built, or because you're trying to avoid it instead of going, okay, I need failure to get better. It's as part of the process as air is to breathing, right? And to control it and to have those, those small failures along the way that builds a really strong foundation, right? Not on sand, but on solid ground and solid rock and well built. So for me, I didn't realize how valuable those failures were until I got a chance to go with Tony Robbins and travel as one of his speakers. And I had all of those failures that I had because it devastated me emotionally, psychologically. My marriage went down. I lost everything. I ended up homeless for a period of time. I went through a bout of feeling suicidal. Like it really, really drained me. And I didn't realize that. It took me 6 years. I was $2 million in debt. It took me 6 years to become worth $0, which was a great day. Hey, I'm worth zero.
Finally. I'm not negative anymore, but
yay, I'm worth zero. But I had 3 notebooks that I was taking notes as I was going through that. And when I was on the road with Tony, which was such an amazing opportunity, I got to talk to all of those business owners. I had access because of proximity to Tony to some of the greatest business minds on the face of the planet, including Tony. And, and then the business owners that we would go speak to, anybody that had been in business for 5 years, I just said, please, can I take you out to coffee, or can I come, I'll take your trash out. I'll come clean up after your animals. It was my humility was super high because I had just been humbled by life. Right. So I was a nobody. I always want to walk around with this. I am a nobody from nowhere. Right. And the only value that I have to anybody watching this is how I can help you free your family financially. That's the only value. You don't need to care. Like, I'm not trying to impress you. I'm not that guy. What I will tell you is that I'm the best in the business at what I do, period. End of sentence.
100%.
Right. And so that came from, and again, going back to my failures, I didn't realize how valuable they were, but after 4 years on the road with Tony Robbins, I came out with 3 new notebooks. And I was like, oh my God, I now know what to do. Right. And the very first time I was leaving and one of my buddies called, I was leaving Tony to try to figure out, I thought I was going to be a speaker and, do the Tony Robbins thing. Turns out there's only one Tony and I'm not him. Right. So, but I love business and I had learned all these things. And a friend of mine called me and it was a timely call. Hey, Jason, I'm going through something that you went through in one of your bankruptcies. I could use your help. If you help me through it, here's a chunk of change. And if we get to the upside, I'll pay you some money for the success. I was like, oh, that's awesome. Went in, helped him. And what was most valuable in what turned out to be my very first job as a turnaround specialist, what was most valuable in that experience in helping him fix his business was my failures. Yes, the stuff of what to do was incredibly valuable, but the most valuable thing, why we have Harvard, Yale, Oxford, Wharton School of Business clients now that have graduated from that, and attorneys and all of the doctors and all the people that come to me, is because of those failures.
Right.
And we did, and it's just redefining. I think if anybody gets anything out of the show is to say, how can I go back and look at my failures and turn those into a book that would protect anybody that was in my situation from coming through that? You're going to end up with incredible value, instead of what I did was jump into a bottle and fail because I was like, oh, I failed, which meant I quit. And then I started drinking, and that's what led to the homelessness and the divorce and all the other crap that came after that. But if I would have looked at that back then going, oh, I failed today. Yes. Right. My bicep just got a little strong. Like, I don't get big or physically strong by being sedentary. I get physically strong by conflict, with heavy weights, with conflict, with pull-ups, and it strengthens the sinews in our body. And it's the same thing with our businesses, that we have to take those failures and stack them together, because we're getting stronger and wiser and smarter every step of the way.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Learn exactly, it's knowing what not to do, right? Like Edison, it was 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb, right?
Amen.
So it's learning from those failures and using them as the stepping stones to, build up that I don't know how I would say it, greatness, or the success aspects of it, right?
Correct. Yep.
Well, cool. So at what point did you start thinking beyond success and start focusing on legacy?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's a great question because there's several points where I had thoughts about legacy. And I'll tell you my first one, which doesn't seem consequential, but it was the first step really on the path to where I am today. And it was back when I was still breaking the law and I was running around with criminals and, I delivered my first drugs when I was 12 years old as part of our family, cartel. And then I was collecting at 16 because I was a great fighter and I'd been fighting my adult, adopted father for my whole life. And then my son was born, my very first son. And so Josh was born and I went to the bar to meet up with some friends because there was, this was my gang of people that I hung out with. And we have this conversation. I told him, I go, I don't think I want to do this anymore. I don't think I want to do this anymore. And they're like, cause I was, my nickname back then was Psycho. Like my whole entire goal was to make an entire name like Gotti or like, you know what I mean? That was my goal, was I was going to go out in a blaze of gunfire and all that kind of stuff. That was my outcome because that was the only picture of greatness that I thought I could be able to achieve. And so they were like, oh yeah, this is a bunch of crap. So anyway, later that night, there was a deal that was going down out in the parking lot. And I was just running protection and my guy went out to make the deal. I kind of got a funny feeling about it, but I saw a glint of a knife behind him. And so I pushed him out of the way. And as soon as I did, that knife went into my chest that was aiming for him. I've got a scar all the way that it opened me up all the way across my chest. And it was that second when that knife went into my chest and opened me up that I was like, there was this Bible verse that popped into my head. I would get beat up really bad when I was a kid, so bad that I would be put in my room until my face would heal. And my grandma always made sure I had a Bible. I wasn't religious. I didn't become a Christian until 4 or 5 years ago. But it was stories, right? I was reading the Bible because I had nothing else to do. I would read it. And there was this verse that popped into my head as soon as that knife went in my chest. And it was, the sins of the father are born onto the children. And it was clear to me, that God let me live through that and gave me the grace, and I didn't die because immediately when that hit me, I go, the sins of the father born. Why am I thinking that right now when I just got stabbed? Because my son had been born that week. And this was his future, right? Yep. And I needed to change. So when you talk about legacy, a lot of people are like, I want to leave a lot of money. I want to blah, blah, blah. That was the first eye-opening piece for me to go, what I want to leave is a last name. Mm-hmm. I want to leave a last name that doesn't mean my son, he's a beautiful, all of my children, all 5 of them are beautiful human beings. For them to be beautiful in service to the world and not have to worry about being in drugs and in that environment and all of the stress that goes along with it, that's my job, to change that destiny, to change my family's stars. And that's why I'm so passionate about business, because business is the thing that allowed me to do that. A nobody from nowhere with no skill sets and no family name, and nobody would lend me money and nobody would do anything. I had to do this shit on my own. And the only place that you can do that is by owning your own company. Yep. And so that legacy, again, no matter what, I like the fact that I've made money. I like the fact that I've built wealth. I like the fact of what we do. Don't get me wrong. But my legacy still is, I want to leave a last name that my children, grandchildren can look at and go, I'm proud to be a Sisneros. Yep. And so that tempers even the wealth building. Because as you know, there's always avenues that you can go into the gray. I stay clearly out of those realms because it's not about the money. It's about the last name. Was I good to people? Could they trust me? Right? Did I protect them? Did I help free them and their families? And those are the answers I want yeses to. So that's what I want my legacy to be, is to make sure that my kids are proud of the last name Sisneros.
I say that all the time. A legacy is not what you leave to someone, it's what you leave in someone, right?
That's solid, bro. That's so good. Yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, I mean, that's,
it's now mine. Great. You said it here, but it's now mine. So
I'm stealing that. That's awesome. Yeah. It's kind of the same thing with me. My son, he kind of wanted to go down. I wasn't the greatest kid growing up either. Let's just say that I was kind of a troublemaker.
Shocker. But, yeah. Shocker.
But that's what we are, right? You said it as business owners, as entrepreneurs, we're rebels, right? Yep. We want to go out and we want to change things, and we want to change the world in a massive way. And so, that's,
we do not want to be controlled.
Well, that's the exact same thing. That's the exact same thing. Or what I was going to say. And so, I say that all the time when we say unemployable, nobody wants me to work for them, because I'm going to go in and show them the deficiencies, and this is what we can improve. And I'll be fired within the first probably 4 hours of being
exactly. There. Yep. 100%.
Absolutely. Well, awesome, man. So what is next? What's next? What's the next chapter?
Yeah. The next chapter is building the owner syndicate. It's that, I look at it like, if Mount Everest, if we're using that as an example, I look at that as like, that's the mountain everybody's trying to climb as a business owner. They're starting at Nepal, right? Which is ground zero. And they want to build something that gives them freedom and choice. Right. And that's what you do when you get to the top of that mountain, you plant your flag and you go, I'm free. Right. I got enough money to now I can do whatever I want for the rest of my life. And my spouse is good and my kids are good. I'm doing some good in the world, whatever that number is. Point is, most people don't know that like Mount Everest is 29,702 feet and 2 inches or something. Like, there's a definition for the completion of everybody's journey that is numerical in form. It's numerical. Mm-hmm. But we don't do that as business owners because we're busy, right? We don't protest and go get signs and shit because we don't have time. We got payroll to meet, we're like, oh, but nobody tells us. Like, if somebody would have came to me, like, if I was to go back to my younger self, what I would say is, Jason, set your freedom number. And I would have went, what's your freedom number? I'm just doing, I'm selling carpet. I'm doing, you know what I mean? I'm doing whatever. And I would have slapped myself in the face. I would have said, shut up and listen to me for a second. I know you're trying to do something for your family. I know you're trying to do something for your kids. I know you're trying to do, what is that number? Because that's where you plant the flag, right? And so that big mountain for us is the environment that we go into as business owners. And that's our Mount Everest. And that is the owner syndicate for me. It's from the moment that you enter into our ecosphere, you're going to be protected. You're in the syndicate now, right? I know what it was to be a gangster, right? I know what it is to protect people. I know what it is to put on a bulletproof vest and go save children. I know what it is to take the threats of a husband that has been beating his wife, and we went in and extricated the family so that they'd be safe. I know what it's like to have cartel and gang members and all the other stuff that we're interrupting their cash flow. I know what it's like. And so when I look at the owner syndicate, all I'm doing is putting on my bulletproof vest for my brothers and sisters that are business owners. Yep. Now we're all together, because I can't do it myself. It's not about Jason being a badass. I am nothing. I cannot go out and rescue a kid by myself. We have 37 incredibly well-trained men and women that go do these undercover missions. I can't do that by myself. I can't go, oh, I'm so tough. I'm dead. Right. I'm done. Out of arrogance, right? I wouldn't do that. I'm well trained. It's Search, Evangelize, Rescue, and Train is the organization that CERT Ministries. Search, Evangelize, Rescue, T. That T is the training so that we have each other's back and that everybody comes home safe. That's our outcome, right? That's our plant of the flag. And so
Absolutely.
it's the same exact way. So I look at that big mountain and I go, there is no, I just want that mountain to have all of us on it. You know, we have a consulting firm, but guess what? I train other consultants to go build their own consultancies under their own brands, under all their everything that they're doing, because we need more of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because what's next for me is to get 600 families to be able to take their asset called a business and sell it for between 15 and 30 million. That's our sweet spot. We do lower, we do higher, but our sweet spot is 15 to $30 million exit. And then to have them go up, you know, and elevate into a place of service. Because you sell your business and you don't have anything to do next, you die. You start drinking, you know, 18 months. It's a statistical fact that 18 months after people retire, they die. Right? So we don't want that. We want that horizon to be next. And by the way, there's going to be a lot of people that I need help from in order for us to go up against the other cartel, which is special interests, you know, unethical capitalist companies, to fight back against the you know, the lobbyists from Amazon and all these other places that are kicking the shit out of small and mid-sized business owners. That we have to build that. So 600 people, the best way I know and you know to get people to trust you is to make them a bunch of money. That's why Built to Exit exists. I know how to pay, I know how to make people money better than most people on the planet. I know how to do it. Okay. Is that what I would do if somebody came to me and said, Jason, what's next for you? I want to build another consulting firm. No, I would rather stab myself in the eye with a dull, rusty fork.
Right.
Right. But if we come together on that journey, and now at the end of that, in 5 years, we have a platform of protecting small and mid-sized business owners tax-wise, anti-monopolistic platform, regulation platform, fair financing for small and mid-sized business owners. And we have a platform that we're now influencing and giving. It's not a Republican or a Democrat thing. I hate both sides equally. Okay. So, but it is we're 17 trillion. You need to listen to us. And if you want to get elected in my county, in my state, at the federal level, you're going to say, yes, we are going to throw our support behind small and mid-sized business owners. And we will sign off on your documentation. We will sign off on your pledge that we will be there for because all business is diversified income, right? All power in all societies over time, all great epic societies fails when the money falls into too few pockets and the power is garnered by too few people.
Right.
Diversified income through small business ownership guarantees that'll never happen in this country. So that's what's next for me. It's a big ass mountain, right? For us to climb, but I'm really committed to it. And we rebranded. We went to Built to Exit very specifically for this. We have all the parts and pieces in place. Now we just need more people to help.
Absolutely. Get that army, right? Get that, build the army. Well, that's awesome, man. Well, I love this conversation. This was awesome. And
as we knew it would be.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Is there anything else that you want to maybe talk about, or?
No, you're going to, interview the better part of me, so I suggest everybody watch the interview with Emily Cisneros, because she is, not only is she gorgeous, but she is brilliant and the best wife I could have ever even hoped for. But I would leave people, because they're going to only come to your podcast because they hear you speak. They might see something of yours online. They might see you on a podcast. They're only going to come here and listen because of the expertise that you are saying you have, and that other people are telling them that you have for them. And what I would say is, just wholeheartedly from the bottom of my heart, I do not recommend or refer or put my name stamp on that many people. But Scott and his team have my 100% endorsement. And if you don't use them, I would say, or have conversations with them about what's going on, I would say that is a foolish decision, right? It's not that you're stupid, but it is a foolish decision to not take what Scott has in deep in mind in your strategies and your thought processes to be able to protect you, your family, and your business and your future with somebody who's trustworthy and knows exactly what they're doing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate you.
My pleasure.
Well, thank you for coming on the show today, and definitely look forward to having the conversation with Emily. Emily is awesome. I'm looking forward to that conversation. And I think down the road we have you two coming on the podcast as well.
That's gonna be a wild show. When you put us together, it's gonna be a wild show.
I'm definitely looking forward to that. Well, right on, brother. Always good to see you. Are you on the road, or are you back home?
No, literally, I did a podcast yesterday from Savannah, Georgia, and this is my home studio. So we were able to get back here in time for your show, so that we could be in our home studios and try to look as good as you.
Well, thanks, brother. All right. Well, I'm going to let you go. You have a great rest of your day. Have an awesome week, and we will talk again here soon.
Absolutely, brother. Talk soon.
Thanks for listening to Legacy Engineered. For more episodes and to connect with Scott and the team at Controllers Limited, visit controllersltd.com. You can also follow Scott on Instagram and LinkedIn and start building your legacy with confidence today.